Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 9. So, to start off, the beginning of this episode once again explores the interesting dynamics and differences between our heroes and the Shihasakai. And hearing the gangsters talk about their loyalty to the boss and his ideals, it really gives you the sense that even now, after being branded a villain group, the organization has not only tried to continue operating in this very morally gray area of society despite overall's actions, but that in some respects they have they have more of a heroic foundation in them than the actual heroes in this situation. Because the hero situation, and what I mean by that is, like, obviously a lot of their actions, a lot of what they've done to Eri obviously has been very, very bad. Like, I'm not going to condone what they've done to Eri, but you get the sense that they're trying that they're trying to do that they're trying to that they're trying to that they're trying to do all this while still pretty much preserving while still trying to preserve what the boss was what the boss of this Yakuza sect was basically trying to achieve it, and what they're trying to keep his memories, his ideals, everything that he embodied within the organization alive. That they're trying to do that while also trying to, like, well, trying to justify what they're currently doing. It puts them in a very morally gray area, which I enjoy, um, and and of course on the hero side, it's really one of those things where when you look at the way that pretty much Bubble Girl is treating is treating these guys. It's one of those things where you look at it in the sense where is treating these guys like they're villains. Obvious, they're basically Yakuza and whatnot. Obviously, so they are dangerous. But it's when we look at the heroes in this sense, and you say, okay, even if they're all doing this for a noble purpose, the heroes are kind of the ones using more forceful methods right now. And the only reason why the Shihasakai is acting like the villains is because, again, it's a situation they've been forced into and have tried to make the best of the situation while still trying to preserve, again, what the memory ideals, and just overall vision of what the boss had intended. So yeah, it's an interesting look into the it's an interesting look into the differences between the Shi. It's a very small, and it's a very small scene, but there is some subtlety. There's some subtlety just to that one scene, even though it's just setting up the episode. Weirdly enough, um, now let's talk about the main fight of the episode, which is Rappa versus Fat Gum and Kirishima. Because there's a couple subtleties about this fight I never fully grasped onto until pretty much this very moment of revisiting in the anime. For instance, going off what I just said, I'd hesitate to call call a person like Rappa anything close to heroic. But when you really get down to this whole fight, it's really just between individuals who love a good brawl. And while Fat Gum obviously was largely engaging Rappa in order to protect Kirishima, this was like just this whole fight, this whole moment of this whole thing, this whole center of the fight around the episode was really where there was no hero and villain distinction. It was really just a battle between skilled fighters who basically respect each other's abilities. That's pretty much all it was, and sometimes that's all there needs to be. Like, if pretty much if this society could just learn not if this society could just learn in order not to completely label everything as either hero or villain, then we could have more situations like this where obviously there are going to be disagreements, but hey, you can still have respect. You can still have respect for one another, I suppose. You can still have that respect for one another. And another thing I was and yeah, like if it could just be more like this, honestly, in a way. Another thing I was really, I guess not necessarily shocked by, but definitely had a revelation about watching this episode was just how much this arc puts Kirishima's development in the spotlight. I mean, obviously from like pretty much Kirishima's original from Kirishima's first moment in this arc. It was pretty obvious he was going to be a main focus, obviously, and with him taking part in the operation, it only confirmed that even more that he was going to get a lot of spotlight. But just the amount of growth he goes through in these two moments, I'd argue almost eclipses the collective development from Mirio and Izuku. Like I'm not gonna lie. I pretty much I loved his moment. It's because it's for those who have seen who've already seen my pretty much day 2 video of 12 days of anime. This is kind of one of those moments where it's pretty much the pretty much Maki versus Flail situation, in the sense where I like this. I like this fight fine enough in the manga, but in the anime, I have so much more respect for it than I pretty much did before. So it's like you pretty much grow, and you pretty much grow into it, and looking at it from a different, more experienced, more, I guess, informed and experienced perspective, you do kind of appreciate it a lot more. Um, Now, and while we're on to Kirishima's development, let's talk about his backstory, because aside from the quirk not having a quirk aspect, in many respects there is, Kirishima even brings it up in his mind, in his inner thoughts, that there's a lot of parallels that can be drawn between his backstory and when Izuku faced a villain down for the first time. Except in this case, Kirishima didn't have that moment All Might talked about. The moment where your feet move without thinking and you jump into danger, which in some respects shows he lacked the hero's instinct, so to speak, but at the same time, it's not necessarily a bad thing he lacked it either, because having this more cautious and rational mindset in some respects makes him an even better hero, as it allows him to prioritize what's actually important, and what it is you pretty much need to, and what actions you need to take as a hero. The only thing that was stopping him was the only thing that was really stopping him was his insecurities and lack of self-confidence. And yet, despite all that, he still, from hearing, from Red Riot's words, from hearing, from basically hearing Red Riot's, Crimson, I think it was Crimson Riot or something. Yeah, from hearing Crimson Riot's words, the words of his hero, he still chose to make that first leap, but pretty much applying to UA. His first leap was applying to UA. It was because for him, the first challenge he needed to get over was facing his fears, his insecurities, all that. But at the end of the day, he still had the desire to be a hero, and yeah, and now look at Kirishima now. He became an even better. He's become, honestly, one of my favorite characters in this series now, because of this. Now, obviously, the other thing with this backstory is that we basically see that Mina and Eijiro went to the same school even before UA, and for me, one thing I liked is I kind of like how their relationship is kind of the antithesis to Bakugo and Izuku, in the sense where out of the two of them, it was actually Mina, who was basically a background character at the time, was the one with the natural heroic instinct, where it was Kirishima who had to build up on what kind of hero he wanted to be, and whereas with Whereas with Izuku and Bakugo, it's the complete opposite. Like even though Izuku, you could argue, is cowardly in some respects, or has a bit of a spastic attitude, he did have that natural heroic instinct. Bakugo did not. He's had to work for it this entire time, so he's had to work in order to find out what kind of hero he wants to be. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of antithesis to, and so yeah, Kirishima and Mina's relationship is kind of an interesting antithesis. Antithesis to that. And final thing, like from what you're hearing me talk about this episode, it seems pretty amazing, right? And it definitely was. I'm not going to discredit how great this episode was for Kirishima's character. But if I did have one slight problem, and it's really just a nitpick because it's kind of on a technical issue, but it has, the problem I do have with this episode is that it has to do with the way they adapted the moments with Rappa, because in the manga when it came to the battle of Rappa versus Fat Gum and Kirishima, there was a sense of size and scale to his appearance that made him look like he towered over Fat Gum and Kirishima, even though he was just an average dude. And well, here in the anime, the moments there are moments like that in the anime, but again, with the anime, Rappa's proportions, I guess you could say, are presented a lot more in a way where he looks like, there are a lot of times where he just looks like an average guy with just a cool look. But again, like it's a half and half, because half the time that they didn't get it right almost, but the other time he definitely does still have that size and skill. So yeah, it's kind of like, I think it's a matter of perception for me with this one. But yeah, guys, that's my review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and let's your Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.